In this course, you're going to build a complete website in RapidWeaver using Foundation from Joe Workman. Now, Foundation is a free-form framework for RapidWeaver that consists of around 60 stacks, which, when used in conjunction with the Foundation theme, gives you the power to build any type of site you like. Now, unlike traditional RapidWeaver themes, the Foundation theme has no design. It's a blank canvas ready for use with the Foundation stacks. The Foundation stacks provide you with all of the components required to build a modern, responsive website. So everything from the navigation to column layouts to banner images, pop-up image galleries and more. Now, if you want to find out more information about Foundation before you go any further, visit foundation.joeworkman.net. There you can watch an introduction video and read a little bit more about the theme and stacks that are provided. Obviously, if you want to follow along with the course and build the website that I'm going to show you how to build, you'll need to download the free theme and purchase the stacks. I would recommend that you get the Foundation bundle here because all of the stack packs will be included and we will be using stacks from all three of these packs throughout the rest of the course. Now, before we go any further, I want to mention that Foundation for RapidWeaver is powered by the Foundation framework from Zurb. At the time of recording, the Foundation for RapidWeaver is based upon Foundation 5. The current version of Foundation from Zurb is actually number 6. So if you want to read up about Foundation 5, what you can do is go to the site documentation here, scroll to the bottom, and you'll see a link to older versions. And you'll need to go to Foundation 5, and there you can read more about the Foundation 5 framework from Zurb. And this is the version that is being used inside of RapidWeaver. So what Joe has done is taken all of the code from the Foundation from Zurb framework and ported that over to a theme and stack set for RapidWeaver. So you'll get a lot of the same things here that you can see. So the navigation types, media, forms, buttons, typography, and so on. All of these elements can be built up inside of RapidWeaver using the stack set provided from Joe Workman. Okay, having said that, we're not going to be focusing on the actual Foundation from Zurb throughout this course because obviously Joe has done the hard work for us and we are going to be focusing on his theme and stack set. And with that being said, what I want to do now is show you the website that we're going to be building. And what I've done is purchased a domain name of rapidweaverfoundation.com. This is where we will be hosting and publishing our website to. And as you can see, I have the homepage here with a navigation along the top with links to all of our pages. And what I've done is created a fictional company called Scriver who are selling a Scriver drawing application for the iPad Pro. So on the homepage here, as I say, we've got the menu along the top, then we have a nice big full page banner below with a background image, the app icon, some text and a Learn More button. Below that we have our site-wide footer with links to additional resources and our social networks. The next page we'll build is the application page. Again, we have the full width banner, our app icon, some information, also or the title and slogan for our app, and then a Buy Now button with a drop down. Below that we have our main content area, and to begin with we have a product image gallery where we can scroll through the images of our product. Then we have a feature set below that, and then we have a full width banner with a call to action button. Below that we have some content that fades in as we scroll down. Then we've got some user testimonies, and finally we have a video, some awards the app has won, and then at the very bottom a footer area where the user could easily buy our application. And of course we have our site-wide footer at the bottom as well. Then finally in the course we're going to build a company page. So we have a full page banner here, then we have some information about our company, an office gallery, so some pictures of where we work with thumbnails that we can go through. And then we have an Our Team Needs You where the visitor could apply for a job opening that we have. When they click on the Apply Now button, a modal window pops up with a form that they could fill out and apply for a job. And of course the site-wide footer at the bottom. So as I say, if you want to follow along and build this website, you will need to go to foundation.joeworkman.net and purchase and install a copy of Foundation for RapidWeaver. Once you've done that, let's go over to RapidWeaver and start building our site. So the first thing to do is create a new project, and then you'll need to add a stacks page to your site. We'll call this one Home. And then before you go any further, you need to make sure that you have selected the Foundation theme from the themes drawer. So we'll open that up there and search for Foundation and select it. Then once you've done that, make sure your stacks library is open, and what I've done is created a folder or a group for all of the Foundation stacks that I have in my library. So if you don't know how to do this, you can go to your main stacks library. You can search for the stacks, so in this case it's Foundation. Select all of those, and then you can right click and say add to group, and I have that Foundation group there, or you can create a new group. So that's all I've done here, and we will be using this folder pretty much exclusively for the rest of this course. Okay, once you've done that, the first thing you need to know about using Foundation is that these site styles must be added to every page of your website. So drag and drop in the site styles stack. Now this is required because it provides the base Foundation framework for all of the other elements that we're going to add to our site. So think of the site styles as the base settings for your entire site. This is where we can customize things like the header fonts, the colors, the text sizing. All the default settings for our website are controlled here. So I'm going to hide RapidWeaver's left-hand sidebar to begin with by pressing Command Alt L, just to give us a little bit more room. Then I'm going to open up the page inspector so that we can have a look at the types of settings inside of the site style stack. So as you can see here, there's a lot of different settings. We're not going to cover everything just now. We will go through a lot of the settings throughout this course. We're going to keep things simple in the first video though, but I want to make you aware of the types of things that you can adjust here. So as I said, you've got the Foundation text colors. So you can set headings, the general text, links, code snippets, and so on. And then you have the text sizing. So again, you can see here that you can set the H1, 2, 3, and so on sizing, and the standard paragraph sizing there as well. Okay, and then you have some element styles, as it's called here. These are generally the accent colors for a lot of the elements across your site, such as buttons and links. So you can change all of those colorings here. We'll leave them as the defaults for now, and we'll come back later on and customize those, as I said. So I encourage you to have a look through all of these settings first, and then you get yourself familiar with those, and once you're ready, we can start adding some elements to our actual site. However, once you're ready, let's go and start building our actual site, because currently if I close out the page inspector and go to preview, you'll see we get a completely blank canvas. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, the Foundation theme is just a blank canvas ready for use with the Foundation stacks. So with traditional RapidWeaver themes, what you would have got is a header, some background colors, a sidebar, perhaps the navigation, and a main content area. The Foundation theme doesn't provide any of that for you. That's where you use the Foundation stacks to build up all of those elements and lay them out in whichever fashion you like. So you have a lot of freedom. However, you are going to have to put a little bit more work in than a traditional RapidWeaver theme, but the payoff is obviously there because you get the freedom to build any type of site that you like. Okay, with that being said, let's go back to edit mode. And the first thing we want to add to our site is the navigation. So search for the top bar, and this is essentially the top navigation bar that is provided by the Foundation framework, and you'll see that you get some placeholder content here with the default styling. If we go and preview that, and I'm not going to be using RapidWeaver's built-in preview throughout the rest of this course, what I'm going to use is RapidWeaver 7's live external preview. So to get to this, you can go to the File menu and select Preview Page in Safari, or press Command P on your keyboard. That will open up your site inside of a local web browser in Safari, or your default browser. And there you'll see that we get that navigation bar, or the top bar there, with our default website title and slogan. And this in essence is the way we're going to be building our site. We're going to be using all of these Foundation stacks to add elements so that we can lay out our content in any fashion that we like. So before we start adding any more elements, what I'm going to do is go to RapidWeaver's general settings and update some information here. So we're going to call our website Scriver. We'll leave the slogan as it is for now. We'll update the footer text, and then I'm going to fill out my email address. And finally, I'm going to drag in a site logo. So on the desktop, I have a folder of assets, and here we can see I have the logo. So I'm going to drag and drop that one into here, and then we'll go back to the home page, and we can start customizing this top bar by opening the page inspector and going to the last tab here. And you'll see a lot of options or settings for the top bar. So this is going to be similar for all of the stacks that we add throughout the course. There are individual settings for each one of these elements. So this is how you customize the styling of your site. Now if I just go back to our live site, if you remember, all we have is our company logo or our site logo on the left hand side and our menu on the right hand side. However, currently we have the logo, the site title and the slogan. And we also want to customize the background color. So we can do all of that inside of the stack settings. So to do that, scroll down slightly and we'll start with the styles. And what we want to do is change the background, and I'm going to set that to be white. Then we'll want to change the text to a darker grey. Something like so. And I'll set the hover color to also be white. And the accent color will be, for now we can use the same as the text color. We can adjust this later on though. And then I'm going to set the active text to be a darker grey. So I will select the standard text color and then just make that slightly darker. Okay. And actually what we'll want to also do, is style the active menu. So check that option there. I've actually styled the hover to be a darker grey. What we'll want to do is again set the active background to be white, and then I'm going to set the active text color to be the same as the hover color, so a darker grey. So there you'll see that that one, or the home menu item in the placeholder content, got slightly darker. Okay, next up what we want to do is customize this title area on the left hand side, and here we can do that with inside of the title area here. So you'll see we have the content is the site setup, so that's using the data from our RapidWeaver site settings. You can customize this if you wanted to, so you can set the logo on different devices here, but what we're going to do is just use RapidWeaver's site setup, but you have got the option to customize that further here as well. What I'm going to do is not show the site title or slogan. I only want the logo for our website. So you can do that by unchecking those two options. And then finally what I want to do in the menu area is remove these dividers. So we'll just uncheck that option there. So that is looking pretty good. Let's go back to RapidWeaver and we'll see the preview automatically update. Now we don't have any other pages, so we're missing the home page link there for the moment. But later on we will see the menu come up when we add another page. However, we have got our menu, and obviously the background is now white, which is the same as the default body background. So we can't actually see where that ends. But what we're going to do now is go back and add that full page banner. If you remember again from the home page, we have that nice hero banner at the top with the image in the background and our app icon. So let's go back to RapidWeaver and start building that now. So the first thing we need to add is a 1-column foundation stack. So drag and drop that in below your top bar. And then what we're going to do is set a background image for that by going to the background settings and selecting image. You can drag and drop in the image or you can browse. And if we go to my desktop, you'll see I have that assets folder. And what I have is a header background image here. So open that up. And then I don't want any tiling, and I want the image to fill the entire area. So that is the base background. What we then need to do is add that darker overlay. So what I need to do is add another 1-column foundation stack inside of that first 1-column foundation stack. And then what we're going to do is set a background color for that one. So select color here, and then what I'm going to do is set a 65% black, like so. And then what we want to do is set the max width, not to be the site width, which we will have a look at in a minute. We want this to be full width. And that is so that it covers the entire image behind it, because we don't want it to be constrained to, for example, 1160 pixels. We want this to be the full 100% width of the browser window so that we are covering the background image there. And then next what I want to do is add some padding. So just below there you'll see responsive padding. What we're going to add is some detailed padding. Now before we go any further, what I want to mention is this rem unit size. So this is a relative EM unit size that is used within CSS, and this is so that you can get some responsive sizing throughout your website. If you're unsure of what rem is, I would suggest you go and have a Google for that quickly and have a quick read up, but as I say, this is just a responsive way of sizing your text and elements inside of your website rather than using a fixed pixel based sizing. Now if you're unsure of how to size your elements, we can go to Safari quickly, and if we search for a rem calculator, the top result here, this rem calculator, what this will allow you to do is choose your base font size, which is often 16 pixels, and then you can convert that, or you can convert the pixel size into rems. So for example, if we wanted 80 pixels padding on the top and bottom here, what we could enter is 80 and then click calculate, and what that will do is give you the rem equivalent of the 80 pixels. So as I say, if we want 80 pixels padding on the top and bottom of this banner area, what we can do is just put in 5 into the top and bottom. And essentially what that will do is give us 80 pixels padding, as I say. Now on the left and right, maybe we only want 40 pixels padding. So in that case, we could add 2.5 as the units here. So that is giving us 80 on the top and bottom and 40 on the left and right. So that is a handy little rem calculator here. If you change the base font size, which we will have a look at later on in this course, then obviously just update that, and then you can enter the pixel value that you want to convert to. So we might use that calculator later on in the course, but as I say, it's a handy little tool that you can use to easily calculate what you need to enter into these boxes. If you don't want to use rems, you can change these to pixel or percent based values. We're going to be using rems because that is a default within inside of the Foundation framework. Okay, next what we need to do is add our icon image. So inside of the Foundation folder, scroll down to the content area and you'll see an image stack. Now one thing to note here is that we are using the Foundation image stack, not the image stack that comes with stacks by default. So as you can see here, you have an image stack. That is not the correct stack to be using. And that is because all of the stacks that come with Foundation work together with each other and provide more features than the default image stack that comes with stacks. So as I say, whenever I use any of these stacks such as paragraph, header, image, they're all the Foundation specific stacks. So please be aware of that and make sure you're using the correct one. As I say, scroll to the content area and drag and drop in the image stack. And then what you need to do is add the image into the stack setting area here. Now as you can see, there are 3 different boxes, one for mobile, one for tablet and one for desktop devices. So in this case you would likely want to resize your image for the mobile browser or for the mobile version of your site, simply because the screen width is smaller, so you can serve up a smaller image which will obviously save on bandwidth. So for example, the icon might only be 128 pixels for the mobile, but you might be using a 512 pixel icon on the desktop. So you don't want your mobile visitors downloading the full 512 pixel image when they only need to be displayed a 128 pixel version of that. Now that's a little bit more advanced, and throughout this video all we're going to do is specify the mobile version of the image and have that be used across all devices. As I say, if you want to go and resize all of your images for the correct screen size, then go ahead and do that and just drag and drop those in. But at its basic form, all you need to do is provide the mobile version of this image, and that will then be used across the desktop and tablet versions as well. So we'll browse for that image, and I have the icon large here, and I'm going to open that up there. And you'll see that gets popped in there. Now what we want to do is define the max width for this icon, and I'm going to set this to 256 for all devices. Okay, below that what we need to add is a header. So again, inside of the foundation stacks you can search for header here, and we can drag and drop that in below. And then below that we need a paragraph, so I will search for paragraph and drag and drop that in below the header. So what we need to do here is update the alignment and the colors for this header. So the first thing I want to do is actually set this to be the page title, so I'll set that as H1. I'll set the alignment to be center, and then what we need to do is set the style. So by default all of our headers were a dark grey color, and as you can see here you can have an alternative site style, and you have 6 different swatches as well. So what we need to do is go back to our site style stack, and if you see here you get a quick preview of all of the different swatches and colors that you have set up. So as I say here, the default header color is this black color, and you can see that that is applied here. So what we want to use is this alternate color, which is white. So all we need to do is select the alternate site style, and you'll see that that uses the white color. If we update these settings later on, those colors will automatically be updated on all the elements using these site styles and swatches. So later on in the course we'll be looking at setting up different swatches for certain colors that we're using, and then we're easily able to use those colors by selecting the swatch that we want to apply to that element. Anyway, for now just select the alternate site style, and we'll do the same for the paragraph. So first of all we'll align that center, and we'll set the alternate style, and there you'll see it turns white as well. Now what I'm going to do is go back to the live site and just copy over this text that we want to use, paste that into the header, and do the same for the paragraph. And then finally what we need to add is the button below the paragraph. So we'll search for button here, and we just want a standard single button, and we'll drag and drop that in. And then we'll want to go and update the settings over here. So I'm going to remove the link for now. Later on we will add that to our Scriver application page, but we need to set the text to learn more. Now we'll leave the font style as it is for now, but the style, as you'll see here, is set to primary. So if I go back up again to this site styles, you'll see the element colors here. The primary is this kind of turquoisey blue color. And as I say, you can choose any other style that is defined inside the site styles. So those are provided as a drop down there. If none of those work in this case, you can do a custom color and select them individually for this element. However, for now we're going to leave this as the primary style. Next, you can size your buttons differently, so that anything from tiny to large. We'll leave ours as medium. If you wanted it bigger, you just select large and it updates. Next we want to align this center as well, and we want to have rounded corners, so we'll set that there. And I think that will do it for our button. Let's go back to Safari and preview this page. So there we go. We can see that our background isn't going full width, so we need to make sure that our settings are correct there. However, we do have our application icon, the title, subtext, and our button. It's not quite the same as our live site here. We need to make sure that we update some of the settings and change the primary color, but you can see by using the foundation stacks how we start to build up a uniquely designed page. So let's go back to RapidWeaver and fix up this background image and change the button text. So what we need to do is make sure our one column foundations are set to full width. And note, we needed the wrapper one to be set to full width as well, so we'll do that there. Let's go back and preview that. And there you can see we are full width, but we're still getting the gutters or the padding for the columns. So what we need to do is set gutters never. Now the gutter is the padding between each column on your site, and we'll be looking at this later on in the course. But for example, if we had a 2-column layout, you don't want the content butting up right next to each other, so you would have a gutter in between each column, and that is set in the site styles, so you can increase or decrease that by default. I think the default gutter is roughly 15 pixels, so that's kind of the padding that you'll get in between each column. In this case we obviously don't want that, so we'll remove it, and there we get the full page or the full width background image with the overlay as well. Okay, next up what we want to do is change this button color. So as I mentioned, we can go to the site styles and update the colors here. If we scroll down, you'll see that we have the element styles. So you have different schemes, so you can have the primary and the secondary scheme. We're going to focus on the primary scheme for now, so all we need to do is select the primary background color, and I've got a few different colors pre-selected here, and what I'm going to do is just select this light bluish color, and that will automatically update. And if we go down to our button, you'll see the background has changed, and if we go back to the preview, you'll see that updates to that blue color. So this is how you control the text coloring and the element colorings for everything on our site. Most of the settings for this stuff is inside the site styles, and as I mentioned at the beginning, you need to ensure that this stack is applied, or this stack is added to every page on your site, and we'll look at doing that, as I say, later on in the course. Okay, whilst we're on the element styles, what I'm going to do is update all of these accent colors to these pre-selected colors that I have here. So the alert color I want to be this red, the success is going to be this green color, warning I have this more goldy orange color, and the info one I have slightly more punchy sort of turquoisey green color there. So that's updated all of our element colorings. What we can also do is go and update our text colors here. So the text, for example, is a slightly dark grey. You can adjust that. I think we're going to go with something slightly lighter for our main body text. And then the link colors, I want this to be this blue color here, and the alternate color I'm going to make slightly darker. And then the hover color, what I'm going to do is select the same blue color here, just drag that to be darker, for example, and again the same for the alt. What I'm going to do is select this one and just make that slightly darker. Code snippets will leave us that for now. I don't think we're going to be using that throughout the course. If we do, we'll come back and update that later. Okay, so let's go and preview our site now. Just check what we need to update finally. So this app icon needs a little bit of margin along the bottom, and we might want to, let's check our live site, we might want to just update the fonts that we're actually using for our headers and main paragraph text here. So let's have a look how we do that. So first off, we can add some margin to the image here simply by using the standard layout controls inside of stacks, and add a margin bottom of 40 pixels. Now the header text is controlled, or the font styling is controlled by default inside of the site style stack. You can override those here by choosing a custom font family, or by default, as it says here, you use the site styles default settings. So I'm just pointing this out just to make you aware that most of the settings that we're going to update will be inside of the site styles, and this is to keep everything global. We don't want to be editing the settings on each individual stack element, because if we want to change the font, for example, later on, we're going to have to go back to every single header and update that individually. Whereas if we use the site style stack, those are the settings that are made globally, and we only have to make it in one place and everything is updated for us. So to change the font family, we can scroll down and you'll see the font setting here, and the font we're going to be using is Helvetica. So I'm going to choose that for the H1 and also for the H2 to 6. Then we can update the font weight. So for me, I want this to be 200 on the H1, and then on the lower headers, so subheaders for example, I'm going to set that to be 500. Now by default in Foundation, only the H1 tag gets a specific font weight, or gets a different font weight from the H2 to H6 tags. However, for my site, what I want to do is customize these font selectors. So check this option here, and then you'll see that you can enter the selectors that you want these styles to be applied to. So in my case, I want the H1, H2 and H3 tags to have these styles applied, because I want most of the headers on my site to be a nice light font weight, not the bolder font weight. However, when we're using H4 to H6, I do want those fonts to be bold. Now this will all come together later on in the video and the course, and it will start to make more sense. So if this feels a little bit more advanced, just keep going, enter the code that I've done here, and as I say, you'll see all of this come together later on. Okay, finally what I want to do is set the paragraph or the text font weight to also be 300, so we get the lighter Helvetica font rather than the slightly bolder one by default. Now when we scroll down, you'll see that the header text has been thinned out, and so has the paragraph. So now when we go back to Safari and preview our site, you'll see that the fonts have been updated here. So that is how we style the fonts for our headers and paragraphs inside of Foundation. And with that being done, I think the main area for our homepage is looking pretty good. That'll do it for the first lesson in this course. In the next video, we'll start to add the global footer and start to build our Scriver application page. So once you're ready, I'll see you in the next video.